Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe to the Knockout Legend. This channel explores the untold moments, disputed stories, and quiet confrontations that shaped boxing's greatest icon. Not just what happened under the lights, but what happened when there were no cameras at all. If you're here for legacy, reputation, and the moments people stop testing limits, you're in the right place. By the time this story takes place, Muhammad Ali was already beyond titles. Belts had come and gone. Opponents had fallen. Predictions had been mocked and proven wrong. Ali had reached a rare stage in boxing history, the point where his name alone carried weight. Not hype, not exaggeration. Wait, when he entered a room, people adjusted without realizing they were doing it. Conversations softened. Movements slowed. Even experienced fighters became more deliberate, as if the space itself demanded caution. That's why the moment the gym went quiet, truly quiet, mattered so much. Because silence in a boxing gym is never accidental. The gym wasn't famous. No banners. No glossy posters. Just old canvas, heavy backs, and the smell of sweat soaked into concrete. This wasn't a media stop or a promotional visit. Ali was there to work. Nothing more. The people inside understood what that meant. Trainers kept distance. Fighters minded their business. No one rushed him. No one asked questions. That alone said enough. Ali moved lightly that day. Loose shoulders. Hands low. Talking between rounds, smiling, joking, the same behavior people mistook for arrogance. But the veterans knew better. Looseness wasn't carelessness. It was confidence refined over years. Ali wasn't proving anything. He was maintaining something. Not everyone in the gym shared that understanding. There was a man watching from near the wall. Big frame. Broad chest. Thick arms. He wasn't new to training, but he wasn't seasoned either. One of those men strong enough to believe strength answered every question. He watched Ali closely. Too closely. First it looked like admiration. Then it hardened into evaluation. Ali finished a light round and leaned on the ropes, listening to his trainer. The room stayed calm. Predictable. Controlled. That's when the man exhaled sharply. It wasn't loud, but it was intentional. The sound landed wrong. A few heads turned. Ali didn't react. That should have been the end of it. The man spoke again, not to Ali directly, but close enough that the words were meant to be heard. He talked about speed, about flash, about how timing could fool people. And then came the line that changed the room. Something about how power was different, about how some punches looked dangerous but weren't. It wasn't a challenge. It was a dismissal. Gyms don't tolerate dismissal lightly. And when it comes to Muhammad Ali, dismissal was rare and unwise. The laughter stopped. Ali turned his head slightly. Not sharply. Not with irritation. Just enough to acknowledge the sound existed. That small movement was when the gym went quiet. No one told the man to stop. No one warned him. That's another detail worth remembering. In real gyms, warnings aren't verbal. They're environmental. And the environment had just shifted. Ali stepped off the ropes. He didn't rush. Didn't square up. He took one step forward. That was all. But it was enough. People who weren't paying attention might think the silence came from fear of violence. That wasn't it. Came from recognition. Recognition that something irreversible was about to happen. Not a fight, but a correction. Ali stopped a few feet from the man. Close enough to be personal. Far enough to remain controlled. He looked directly at him. Not aggressively. Curiously. Ali asked a question. Quiet. Plain. Who you been watching? No sarcasm. No bait. The room waited. The man answered anyway. He talked about size. About strength. About fighters who didn't dance. Ali listened. That's the part that unsettled the trainers most. Listening meant Ali hadn't dismissed him outright. Listening meant he was deciding whether the misunderstanding deserved resolution. Ali nodded slowly. Then he said something trainers would repeat for years. Power don't announce itself. The man didn't understand. That confusion was visible. Because men who rely on force expect force in return. Ali gave him none. The man smirked. That smirk crossed the final line. Not because it was disrespectful, but because it showed the lesson hadn't landed. Ali exhaled, took half a step closer. And then without stance or warning, he moved. It wasn't a swing. It wasn't dramatic. It was a short, compact punch, delivered with the kind of economy that doesn't register until it's already finished. The sound was dull, heavy, final. The man dropped. Not violently. Not theatrically. Just folded. As if his legs had been given different instructions than his mind. The gym didn't erupt. It absorbed. Ali didn't loom. Didn't stare. He turned away before the man hit the ground fully. Reached for the towel. Sat down. That was it. Trainers moved quickly but calmly. Checked the man. He was conscious. Breathing fine. Just stunned. That kind of stun that isn't about pain but recalibration. Ali didn't watch. That detail matters. He had already returned to his world. Because once the correction was delivered, the moment no longer belonged to him. Someone asked Ali later why he stepped forward at all. Ali shrugged. He didn't know, he said. That was the explanation. Not anger. Not ego. Ignorance corrected. Inside boxing culture that matters. Because humiliation creates enemies. Correction creates understanding. Ali chose understanding. Word traveled. Not fast. Not loudly. But accurately. No embellishment. No bravado. Just a simple truth. The gym went quiet when Ali took one step forward. And stayed that way. People who heard the story didn't repeat the punch. They repeated the pause before it. That pause told them everything they needed to know. Ali's power had always been misunderstood. People equated it with knockouts. With highlights. But those who trained with him knew better. They felt it in clinches. In forearms. In balance shifts. Ali's strength wasn't explosive. It was absolute. He didn't load punches. He delivered them where resistance didn't exist yet. That's why they landed heavy. That's why they ended conversations. The man who questioned him never spoke publicly about it. That silence preserved the story. Because real lessons don't need defense. Years later, trainers still reference that day. Not as a warning. As a reminder. Don't mistake movement for weakness. Don't mistake humor for softness. And don't assume silence means permission. Ali understood something rare. That real power doesn't seek recognition. It waits. That's why the gym went quiet. Not because Ali demanded it, but because everyone present recognized what stood in front of them. Not a fighter. A standard. And standards don't argue. They simply stand. What made the moment linger wasn't the physical result. It was the way everyone recalibrated afterward. Because gyms are ecosystems. They adjust instantly when hierarchy becomes clear. After the man was helped to his feet and guided toward the benches, no one filled the silence with chatter. No jokes. No commentary. The heavy bags kept swinging, but the rhythm had changed. More deliberate now. More respectful. Ali stayed seated, towel around his neck, eyes forward. He didn't pretend nothing had happened. He simply refused to give the moment more energy than it deserved. That restraint wasn't accidental. Ali had learned, long before titles and cameras, that attention magnifies conflict. And conflict, when unnecessary, weakens authority. So he denied it oxygen. One of the younger fighters nearby watched Ali closely. Later, he would say the most unsettling thing wasn't how fast Ali moved. It was how normal he looked doing it. No tension in the shoulders. No tightening of the jaw. Just a correction delivered and forgotten. That's what stayed with them. Ali's reputation for speed often distracted people from his fundamentals. They focused on the shuffle, the lean-back defense, the mouth. But those who had shared space with him understood the truth. Ali was structurally sound. His balance was impeccable. His hips were disciplined. His timing bordered on surgical. That combination made his punches deceptive. They didn't announce themselves because they didn't need to. The man who questioned him had made a common mistake. He equated visible effort with effectiveness. Ali had already evolved past that stage. In the hours that followed, the gym returned to routine but not to normal. Trainers corrected footwork more sharply. Sparring partners became more mindful. No one said Ali's name. They didn't need to. The lesson had already attached itself to the environment. That's how real influence works. It doesn't dominate the conversation. It reshapes it. Ali finished training earlier than planned. Not because he was disturbed, but because his work was done. As he wrapped his hands, a trainer approached quietly. No pras. No questions. Just a nod. Ali returned it. That exchange carried more weight than applause ever could. Outside the gym, the world continued as usual. Cars passed. People argued. Noise returned. But inside that space, something permanent had been established. Not fear. Clarity. Ali had always been aware of how he was perceived. Not insecure aware. He understood that his speed invited skepticism, that his humor invited dismissal. So he never rushed to correct misconceptions. He waited, because misconceptions eventually expose themselves. The man's question that night wasn't unique. Others had thought it before. They just hadn't said it aloud. Ali corrected all of them at once. What's often missed in retellings is that Ali didn't enjoy moments like that. He tolerated them, because they were necessary. A man who carries influence must occasionally define its boundaries. Not loudly, not repeatedly, just clearly. That clarity preserved Ali's energy. He didn't spend his career proving strength to skeptics. He spent it dismantling opponents who came prepared. That difference matters. In later years, fighters would describe Ali's power in the same way. Not crushing, convincing. Once you felt it, there was no confusion left. The man who questioned him that night never returned to that gym. Not because he was banned, because he didn't belong there anymore. Gyms remember. They always do. Stories like this survive because they aren't convenient. They don't fit highlight reels. They don't sell tickets. They exist in the margins where truth often hides. Ali never referenced the incident publicly. He didn't need it added to his legend. His legend already had structure. This moment simply reinforced it. Those who witnessed it carried the story forward carefully. Not as gossip, as instruction. When younger fighters asked about Ali's power, trainers didn't exaggerate. They told them about the step forward, about the silence, about how nothing else was needed. Because in boxing, silence is the loudest verdict there is. Ali understood that dominance doesn't arrive through repetition. It arrives through finality. One step, one moment, one correction. That's why no one rushed him after. That's why no one tested him again in that way. Not because they were afraid, because they were informed. Ali didn't take the room. The room gave itself to him. That's the difference between a fighter and a standard.